Lydia Watts. I'm a librarian here at the Santa Barbara Public Library, and I am the event coordinator for all of our Green at Your Library events this spring. Starting in March, we kicked off with a big Green at Your Library workshop at the Eastside Library. We had several local agencies, city and county recycling groups come and talk and share information. From there, we kind of broke it down and used a lot of our agencies and took them to all of our libraries in the Santa Barbara Public Library system. So in March, we had a few bicycle workshop clinics go to the libraries where BC Centro was able to show the public how to do minor repairs on their bicycles. We had recycling workshops here with Creeks Division come out and talk about how what the city is doing to keep plastics and pollution out of the oceans. We've had a neighborhood cleanup at the Eastside Library branch, composting workshops. We also had a table at the Santa Barbara Earth Day Festival for 2 days, made a lot of contacts. The Friends of the Library were there as well. And let's see, here's a display of some of the things we did this month. We also screened the film Bag It at 3 of our libraries and had a great turnout for our global warming talk with Dr. Jim Powell.
When the Santa Barbara Public Library heard about the possibility of the Book to Action program, we were really excited. We have had for a decade a Santa Barbara Reads program, a citywide read program where we read a common book and have discussions. And for the past few years, we've been doing programs in conjunction with the University of California at Santa Barbara. And so this year's book was a book called Moby-Duck by Donovan Hahn, which traces the adventure of 28,000 bathtub toys that are washed overboard in the Pacific Ocean and what happens to them. And so it's an environmental tale. It's also a tale of oceanography and adventure, but it's a book that had a lot of environmental themes. So that was already chosen, and we thought, oh, we could do a lot of programs that are associated with Moby-Duck. And so we already had a lot of discussions bringing in community scholars that were planned, and the Green at Your Library events that were our Book to Action grant projects really fit in very well with it, starting with one of our branches that knows well its community and realized that a book discussion really wasn't going to spur the interest so much as a day of activities. And so our Eastside branch planned a Green at Your Library Day where they brought in different projects from the community, the Permaculture Network with a seed swap, the Bike Coalition with a bike workshop, projects from UCSB that talk about rainforest preservation, all sorts of great community agencies, the recycling, composting, all sorts of wonderful community agencies, plus a craft and activities that were led by the Santa Barbara Museum of Art. So that was the model and really the first Green at Your Library program, and then we spun off bits and pieces of that to different branches. The great thing about this program is that our branches came up with a lot of great ideas. For example, one of the branches decided to host James Lawrence Powell, who's a climate scientist, and member of the National Science Board, talking about issues related to global warming and inviting the audience to participate in the scientific discussion. That program was very successful at the small branch, but we also brought it to our central library where about 100 people attended. And so the same thing happened with one program. One library was interested in screening a documentary. We wound up screening it in about 3 of our branches. So we have a central library plus 5 significant branches that serve a really big area, over 1,000 square miles and over 200,000 people. And so the programs that we created through Green at Your Library helped us take a small program and make it a lot bigger. The action part that we're most proud of was a neighborhood cleanup that was centered around the Eastside Library, where a bunch of adults and high school students showed up on a Saturday morning to do a neighborhood cleanup in that neighborhood. And so that was really a wonderful message to take away from the book Moby-Duck, which is about essentially trash floating all over the world. How do we clean up our own trash in our own neighborhoods? So the Green at Your Library programs funded through the Book to Action grant really helped our library do a tremendous amount of programming. We did lots of programs, not just 3 or 4 programs, but well over a dozen programs that extended over hundreds of miles. And that was spurred by this small grant, LSTA grant, that was administered by the state library. So we're very excited and very grateful and really see it as a great model for how do we use a library program based on a book to do a lot more in our community.
the Eastside Neighborhood Cleanup for our Green at Your Library events from our Book to Action grant for Moby-Duck. We have a lot of Anacapa school students here and other teen volunteers.